I'm here with Brendan, and we're going to have a quick chat about how he found the Javelina 100. So, Brendan, tell me about how the race panned out for you.
Oh, it was an interesting race. It was a typical ultra. It had its ups and downs, and yeah, look, I'm happy with how I performed and how I dealt with the race as it went on during the day. I think there's a little bit of disappointment there. I think I left a second place out there to get, but yeah, look, that's the way it goes. So basically, the day started pretty comfortably in the cooler morning weather, and Zach and Patrick and I ran the first lap pretty much together. Zach was, I think he had a bit of a home turf to defend, and there was another runner. Well, there was a few other runners, but one other fellow, Manuel, from Brazil, that kind of took it out on the first lap hard with Zach, which I think forced Zach a little bit out of his comfort zone, but he kind of pulled it back a bit, and we pretty much all went through the first lap together and started the second lap again together, and it was all very comfortable, chitty-chatty, and by, three-quarters of the way through the second lap, by a quarter of the, as we got through the main checkpoint of the first lap, so we were all together, and Zach and Patrick must have stopped for their drop bags, and which was in a slightly cut-away section of the little headquarter checkpoint there, and I didn't actually see myself pass them, and I found myself out on the second lap not knowing where Patrick and Zach were. I thought they were ahead of me, because I did stop for a little while at that checkpoint, but when I got to the halfway checkpoint of each loop, Jackass Junction, I was told there by the race director, Jamil, that I was actually first one through, so I didn't actually know that I was in the lead. But yeah, then I kind of felt, well, that's handy, because I haven't really been pushing the pace or anything, and so I got into my little comfort zone, and I was quite happy to control the tempo, if you like, of the race, knowing that Zach and Patrick were behind me, and they weren't just behind me either, because I was at that checkpoint for about 30 seconds, and they hadn't come in or didn't hear the crowd cheering for them coming in. So yeah, unfortunately, about maybe a kilometre and a half after that, I went off course. I don't know how I did it, because it was a brilliantly marked course. I was just off in my own world, and started noticing horseshoe prints on the trail instead of runners' footprints, which gave me the idea I was off course. So I kind of stopped and checked, and yeah, I had a feeling I was. So I backtracked, and so I found myself then. I'd lost that ascendancy. I'd kind of build up on that lap, and it took me pretty much the rest of that lap to not catch Patrick and Zach, because I wasn't really pushing any harder than I was originally, but I think that took the wind out of my sails a bit. That just trying to stretch that, bring them back to me, I think, and so we got to the end of the second lap all together again, and started the third lap again. The third lap went back on itself, so the washing machine nature of the course, and it was up the harder incline, if you like, kind of section going that way, and by halfway around, Patrick really put the foot down. Well, it was a combination of him maintaining his pace more, and Zach and I kind of dropping it a bit. So I think it was more like probably us dropping our pace, and Patrick kind of maintained it all the way around, and Zach and I kind of ran the rest of that third lap together. Towards the end of that lap, Zach put in a bit of a surge, if you like, coming into the checkpoint, and got to the checkpoint just ahead of me. And then I hit the fourth lap, and that's the lap that really hurt. It was in the middle of the day, like 1 p.m. Temperatures must have been 35, but felt like 40 in the exposed sunlight. And yeah, I really found that lap really tough. I had to stop and reset at a couple of the checkpoints for some time, just to compose myself and get some nutrition in, and I knew then that, okay, I'm not going to be challenging for the win anymore, and yeah, it was going to be a battle for second and third. So yeah, I mean, I didn't want to drop much time, but I definitely needed the time to reset myself, and that fourth lap was very tough. The pace had dropped significantly. I had to walk a couple of sections as I was getting some really bad stitches in my stomach, and yeah, just the heat was getting to me. But I got to the end of it, and I pushed through, got through the bad patches, and the fifth lap then the sun was starting to hide behind the mountains, and as soon as that sun went down or away, it cooled significantly, and I found myself in a really good flow again, and I pushed pretty hard on that last lap, averaging, just around 5-minute kilometre pace for the rest of that lap, and I drew some time back on Zach on that lap, but yeah, he just built up too great a lead to pull him back. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really stoked for third. I couldn't ask, if you asked me at the start, would have I been happy? And yeah, of course, third in an Ultra Trail World Tour event is great. But yeah, I'm like most runners. There's always a little bit of me that's a bit disappointed.
Okay, so you mentioned going off track a little bit.
Yeah.
What, along with that one, what was some of the other hiccups you had, and how did you manage your hiccups that you did have?
Well, I managed that hiccup, like in my head, I kind of felt like I hadn't known I was in the lead anyway for a lot of that lap, so I kind of justified, well, I haven't lost anything. For the rest of that lap, I'd managed to kind of, we'd all come back together as well, so I kind of said to myself, well, we're just restarting the race again, all three of us. However, like later on when I look back at my data, I realised I had an 800 metre gap on them. So, I mean, that's significant in a race, especially when you're in front and you can control the tempo a little bit more, kind of thing. And it gives the people chasing you more doubt about, so it would have been nice to have been out in front a bit longer and just maintain it, but I kind of felt like at the time, look, just put it behind you. There's no point dwelling on it. It's a 100-mile race. It's a big, long race. There's going to be many, many other things that are going to influence the race over that. So I put that behind me. And then, yeah, the heat. It was a massive factor in the day. It was exposed in the desert, no shade whatsoever. I just tried to keep wet and cool as much as I could. I had one of those headscarf things that is especially designed fabric to keep you cool, creates like a fridge effect. I wore a Legionnaire's cap with the flaps out the back to keep as much direct sunlight off my skin and off that scarf as possible. And I just chilled my drinks, iced my drinks, and wet myself as much as I could, and tried to keep myself from going above that red line effort-wise, and to try and keep my core body temperature down. Yeah.
Okay. Were there any other hiccups that you can think of other than kind of going off track a little bit? Any specific ones that you kind of look back and think, oh, whoops?
Not really. Look, I think I could have handled my nutrition better. I was a little bit too reactive to it, so I was waiting until I felt like I needed it and starting to fade a little bit before I took it on. And that's because in that heat, the last thing you want to do is really eat. You just think, eating, oh no, it's going to just tip me over the edge. I don't want to lose my stomach in this heat. So I was really pushing back the nutrition instead of being more, on top of it. From the beginning, I was waiting till I felt like I needed it. And every time I did have it, I got my energy back to full capacity pretty much after taking it on. So, but yeah, look, it wasn't as towards the end of it, I was able to take more gels on and being a little bit more preventative of trying to get on top of it. But yeah, look, I think I may have dropped a little bit of time there a couple of times as I was, just fading a bit in my energy levels as well.
Okay, so that sounds like a great reminder. Was there anything else that you think, oh, I was reminded of this, or I've learnt that from this race?
I was happy with how I paced it. Although I was running with two other athletes at the time. I wasn't racing them. We were all running very comfortably, and I was constantly just reminding myself, run in your own bubble and run your own pace. And I was happy with the pace they were doing. So we just happened to be pretty closely matched. I think Patrick had superior endurance over Zach and I. He was able to maintain that pace a lot longer, so that pace for him was probably a lot more comfortable in hindsight. But I felt comfortable. I think just learning, to probably modify as the day gets hotter as well, I could take that away, I think, a bit better. But it was a funny race because in the cool of the morning you want to put some time in the bank, and you want to save, but you don't want to be too conservative either in the morning. So yeah, look, pacing wise I was happy. I can't really think of anything else. Was there anything else I said to you that? Yeah, no. I mean, I had to dig in. Like, there's no doubt I had to really battle some mental voices in my head. The voices telling you to stop, and this is uncomfortable. You need to stop, and once you stop, then it's like the floodgates open with that self-doubt. Every thought comes into your head. I had them all DNFing and all that kind of stuff, but I answered them all just with got to get moving. So walking turned into a little shuffle eventually turned into a jog turned into a run, and overall, my average pace was under 5:15. If you take away my stoppage time, it was 5:15 if you add my stopping time. So there was 20 minutes of stopping time overall. I was happy with that, over 100 miles. What I wasn't happy with was probably added another 5 or 6 minutes with the off-course bit. If I could take that 5-6 minutes back, I would have been a lot closer to Zach and would have had a better shot at having a true go at him on that last lap. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's quite an unusual race in a few different ways. Can you tell me a bit about the vibe of the race?
Vibe was fantastic. I mean, running with Patrick and Zach, they're such gentlemen. They were just so cool, and so yeah, I got a sense from them that the vibe of the race was going to be great, and everyone's there to to challenge themselves, but people take a very light-hearted approach to it. There was costumes, dress-ups, best prizes for best ass award, and that kind of thing. So I had a very Halloween-y theme, being Halloween over there or everywhere, but one of the checkpoints had a disco and a keg and everything like that. It was pretty cool. A barbecue. Last thing you want to be breathing in when you're on your last lap and trying to finish off something. You come to a checkpoint. I was offered a beer and I was like, maybe not. Yeah, it was a really good time event. I really liked the organisation. The course, going back on itself so many times, made it very logistically easy, and yeah, just so different to Australia. Desert running, I've never done it before, but it was just breathtakingly beautiful, but in such a different way to how Australia is. It's it's so open and stark and really hostile as well. I mean, if you go off the trail like just 10 centimeters, you're rubbing up against some cactus or some bush that literally throws its thorns at you, and I'm still digging out little thorns out of my legs and stuff where I've just swerved to let someone pass or someone's coming my way. Trying to get out the little thorns. So yeah, hostile environment. You wouldn't want to be out there lost, put it that way. You wouldn't last very long. Yeah.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for your time, Brendan.
All right, thanks. Can I just thank, lastly, Ultra Trail World Tour. I was able to get over there and compete because of them, and also, my good sponsors, Innovate in Australia, the Trail Rocks, the 250s were fantastic on that course, and AUP as well. IUP, I should say. They gave me some headlamps, and they were brilliant. So many people commented on them on my during the last lap in the dark, and Hammer Nutrition. I mean, they got me through the race with the gels and the Perpetuum, and my family over in Arizona, the Frolics, Bromwell Carter and Tara, who crewed, and Curry as well, who crewed for me on the day. I couldn't have done it without you. And of course you, Nadine, for all the moral support and love that you give me and support you give me in my ultra running career.
Thanks, Brendan.
All right, thank you.